how are you? Today I brought you a wonderful recipe for a natural probiotic ferment, and you're going to love it. It only takes 2 ingredients, they're inexpensive, and it's easy for you to add to your daily routine. And it's a vegan probiotic version. A lot of people ask me for this. Probiotics are very important for our gut, our immunity, and even for weight loss. And for the matter of neurotransmitters, which are important for our brain and our good mood. This recipe is delicious and goes well with so many things. Stay until the end, you won't want to miss it. So, to make this fermented food, this natural probiotic, I'm going to use red onion as the base. I've already cut it into pieces, into slices, and I'll start by putting it here in our jar. Before putting it in the jar and explaining, I just want to remind you to make sure you sanitize your jar well. It needs to be a glass jar, so wash it with soap and water, rinse it very well, and then put it in a pot with boiling water. Let it boil for about 5 to 10 minutes, then turn it upside down on a clean dish towel or on a clean rack if you have one, and let it air dry naturally. Do not wipe it with a cloth or paper inside. We want it to be as sterile and as clean as possible, because this is going to ferment. So if there are bad bacteria here, bad bacteria will grow. And sometimes the fermentation doesn't work out because of that, so cleaning the jar is always important. Let's move over here, because I'm going to start adding the onion, and I'll explain to you. So my jar is here, my onion, I'm just putting it in here, tossing it in really. There's no need for any specific order. The most important thing is to try to lay it down more like this, so that when we add the liquid later, it stays well in contact and we can fit a large amount. Since this takes a few days to be ready, I recommend making a large amount this time so you won't have to make it again so soon. Remember that onion is already an excellent prebiotic by nature, meaning it contains many fibers and natural substances that help feed the beneficial bacteria and yeasts that live in our gut. So this preserve here, this pickle, will already bring 2 benefits, because besides being probiotic, it is also prebiotic. This red onion has a milder flavor, so I chose it honestly both for the taste. It's naturally sweeter than white onion, and red onion also contains quercetin, which is a really great antioxidant. Besides that, you'll see that when I pour the liquid in to make the preserve, it will release a color, it'll look really beautiful, and we eat with our eyes, so it's totally worth it. I'm going to finish putting the onion in here carefully, pressing it down, and I'll be right back so we can talk about the liquid, fill it up, and explain the whole step-by-step process. I'll be right back. So, I put the onion in here. You add it according to the size of your jar, filling it up more or less, but leave some space at the top so we can pour water over it. You'll see what I mean in a moment. And here I have my solution to make this preserve. I'm going to use water, boiled and filtered, and natural sea salt. In other words, it's a coarse, unprocessed salt that hasn't been extensively processed or further refined and purified, which consequently makes it the most suitable and ideal selection for the purpose of our culinary preserve. The quantities are all listed below, and we should always use a really good quality fine salt. And we add this liquid here to our onions, and then we'll finish up with the details so you can do this fermentation part at home yourself. It's important that you add all the salt. So, even if the salt hasn't dissolved completely, I'm doing things a bit faster here for the camera, but at home, you can take a little more time to dissolve the salt thoroughly and everything else. If it doesn't dissolve, like mine here, just scrape it in, because the salt plays a very important role in this fermentation. It prevents harmful bacteria and fungi from growing. So the salt is really crucial, and it's also important that the onions stay submerged in this liquid, so that bad bacteria and microorganisms don't grow here. So we push the onions down, and now we're going to talk about the actual fermentation process. Before we put the lid on and I explain how to set everything up properly so you don't make a mess at home, I just want to point out that this brine for the pickling only contains water and salt. There's no sugar, no vinegar, so you're not adding any carbohydrates. You're not adding an ingredient that causes inflammation, like sugar does, so this pickle is even suitable for people who are watching their sugar intake. Plus, it doesn't have that strong, vinegary taste that some people don't like. Let's get back to this, and I'll show you how to set it up so it actually ferments now. So here I have a deep plate, a soup plate, and I'm going to place my jar inside it, because later on this might even rise, since there will be carbon dioxide produced during fermentation, and the liquid might even overflow. That's why we always use a saucer to cover it, to close it off, but it can't be anything screwed on, because otherwise it creates pressure, and the glass could even explode, which could be dangerous for you. And by placing this plate underneath, even if a bit of liquid overflows, it won't make a mess. Now I'm going to put this in the cupboard, closed, in a dry and somewhat warm environment, really just warmer, more pleasant, the kind of temperature where the microbes like to grow, for about 3 to 7 days. Then I'll come back here to show you how it turned out. We'll taste it and talk more about this fermented onion pickle. Hang on, I'll be right back. Look, 3 days have passed, and I'm going to show you how our fermentation is doing. Look at all these bubbles. How cool is that? I'll show you. It almost looks like onion soda. Isn't it amazing? When we stir it like this, a lot of bubbles rise up, which shows that fermentation happened. There's no mold, everything is just right. Now I'm going to put some on a plate so we can try it. Remember, after it's fermented, you close it and keep it in the fridge. You don't need to leave it at room temperature anymore because the fermentation process is already done. And you can keep it sealed in the fridge. I'm going to put a few pieces on my plate to taste. Important details when it comes to eating it. Ideally, you should eat this product raw, because if you heat it up, if you put it in a frying pan, saute it, or season it to bake in the oven, you'll kill the probiotics that have grown here, and we don't want to kill those little guys. So you can add it to salads, sandwiches, spreads, or on top of a steak that's already cooked, as long as it's raw. This is a very important detail. So tell me, at what time are you going to enjoy this recipe that's so good for your gut and your health? Let's taste it. Red onion is already a very pleasant onion, much less pungent than white onion and naturally sweeter. And after you let it soak in this brine, it's super easy to eat. Make it. You're going to love it. See you next time. Bye.